If you have an older car that doesn't have Bluetooth capability, you'd like to be able to hook up your phone, play music, receive calls, but you drive maybe a classic car, something older, and you don't feel like changing out the entire head unit, putting in possibly a cheaper looking radio, this might be the solution to your problems.
The Tranzit Blu Bluetooth receiver.
Now I got this thing on Amazon after reading a few threads in a forum of people discussing how to hook up Bluetooth to an older car. In this case, the car is a 1999. Did not come with factory Bluetooth, obviously. And this was suggested by a few people. They said they liked it, so I thought I'd give it a chance. Comes with a call button. Comes with an external mic with a ridiculously large windsock on it. Also has quite a large sun visor clip and what looks to be a pretty long cable. Instructions. Works with iOS and Android. And this looks like our power. So we have a harness. I don't know what's in there, maybe a fuse. And then it looks like 2 power wires. So let's see how they want us to wire this thing up. I can't read French. Okay, so you have the unit, antenna connectors. The pink wire and the black wire are for your call button. Then you just have power and ground, which is the red and black. That's easy enough. The harness gives you a 3.5mm jack. If you have an auxiliary port on your existing radio, you just plug that into there. This will power up the Bluetooth. You now have Bluetooth for an auxiliary jack. I don't want it to be used with this, plus I don't have an auxiliary jack. So what we're going to do is option A, you gotta tune your radio to 98.1 FM. You unplug your antenna wire, stick it into here, and then plug this back into the radio, or vice versa. But basically you take your antenna out of the radio, stick this in there, and then stick your antenna in there, and now this is in line. So when you tune it to 98.1, this guy will take over. Shouldn't be too bad of an install. The biggest issue is finding access to your radio. So we'll jump into the car and get this thing wired up. While I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and attach an eyelet to the ground because I already have a ground hooked up to the car. I think this will work just fine. That ought to work. So a lot of people don't like the old 90s stereo, and I can see that. I understand why you might say something like this, but there's just something about it. I think it completes the package, and I don't really want to have an aftermarket device in there. Just doesn't really look the same or feel the same to me. So I want to keep this, which is why we're using this Bluetooth adapter. So we got to get the dash tore apart. There's plenty of room under here to mount that unit. I'm gonna try to sneak the radio out just enough so I can access that antenna cable. That's pretty much all we need it for. This radio probably hasn't been touched since new. So that's the antenna cable. Now, I was prepared for this. The cable on the Tranzit Blu is much bigger. So I have these adapters. This one is 40-GM10 and that one is 40-GM20. So what that's going to allow us to do is plug into the Tranzit unit without having to replace everything. So this one is much smaller compared to that. Hopefully you can see it. So I'm gonna put this one in the radio. It's also right angle, which is kind of nice. Then the big end gets the Tranzit, the other Tranzit gets this one, and then this has the little plug for the existing antenna. So factory wire, adapter, Tranzit, back to adapter, and into the radio. Like I said, with a nice 90-degree adapter, which is appreciated. Okay, now I'm just gonna tuck all this stuff back up in there and put the radio back in. All right, radio's in there. So hook the harness on. And then before I secure this, the phone button is wired up after the fact, so I can do that wherever, whenever. But I need the microphone to be routed through here. So I'm gonna grab that real quick. Got the microphone. The other thing I grabbed was some double-sided sticky tape, and I'm just gonna put that on there before I secure it. just to help it not bounce around, fall all over the place in there. And of course, a zip tie. All right, don't forget the mic cable. I'm just gonna sneak it up in here for now. I really just need to make sure it's plugged in. So we have the wiring here. This is the black ground wire. I'm going to need to add my own power wire, but that's okay. I have one readily available. Gonna sneak it out of here so that I can just secure the ground on the back side. Let's see if I can show you this. Yeah, there you go. So I already had a ground that I mocked up for some other parts. So I just hooked that pink terminal up to it, and that'll be our ground. So the only thing left to do, I don't need a ton of wire for this, so I'm gonna splice these pink and black wires in and then run a power source and we're gonna be good to go. And this was the microphone. No, this is the auxiliary jack. So just so this thing doesn't think I'm trying to use the 3.5 jack, I'm just gonna tape it up so that it can't make contact with anything in there. And then again, just secure these wires out of the way. Okay, let me shove all that in. Okay, so we can put the dash back together. There we go. Here's my auxiliary fuse holder. Put the cover back on it once I figure out everything's working. All right, key on. Let's go to Bluetooth. All right, so I'm using a zip tie to hold the microphone. I'm not gonna use this big old thing because it's too big. So I'm going to use the sun visor clip, get it started in there. And what I'm gonna do is feed it under and then just route the cable. Now it doesn't interfere with the visor option and it's nice and secure. Now you just route the cable down through the pillar. All right, I've got that alcoholed. I'm gonna peel off this tape. Here you go. It's not terrible. So I have the microphone routed up under the trim piece. Got a piece of double-sided tape helping me keep it there for a while. It's all the way around here, down to the pillar, underneath the trim panel, and then there you go. So now, it's hooked up with the Bluetooth, and we have Bluetooth. So with a car like this, you might not ever even listen to the radio, but you now have it and you can use it for navigation.
In 500 feet, turn left onto road.
The idea behind this is being able to keep your factory radio, which is what I wanted to do. Even though nobody likes these old GM radios, it fits with the car, in my opinion, and I wanted to keep it like that. So this way, you just tune it to 98.1, and you now have Bluetooth capability in your older car. One of the other reasons why I really wanted to do this was to retain the factory stereo and not have to worry about anything matching up. So hopefully this gave you some insight that there are ways to do that. If you have any questions about the installation, leave them down in the comment section. I'm going to leave a link to the Amazon page where I got the Bluetooth adapter so that you could see it. I'll also leave a link to the 2 antenna adapter cables that I used. Those are only going to work on GMs, but I'll leave them there anyway, just in case you're doing this exact same thing. Okay, so it's been about a week since I put the Tranzit Blu HF Bluetooth receiver in the car, and there's a couple of things you need to be aware of. The biggest gripe I have with it right now is the fact that you have to wire this thing up to key power. I mean, you don't have to do that, but you wire it up to key power. If you're going to do this and you have a delay on your radio, so you know you're driving around, you turn the key off, your radio keeps on playing until you open the door. If you have that, which my car does, it's kind of annoying because as soon as you turn the key off, the Transit will power down and then you're just stuck there with 98.1 static until you open the door. I may change it later and power the red wire onto a delayed power source instead of just key power. That's been the only real thing that I have a problem with. Bluetooth works great. The calls seem to work okay. The music transmission works perfectly fine, which is what this was for. The navigation works well. So overall, it's really good, and it's a perfect solution to putting Bluetooth in your car if you don't have any other option. And like I was saying, you want to keep your stock radio. The only thing is the power source, so you're going to want to think about that before you go wiring it up.
4 more days later.
So I went ahead and did it, and it's a lot better. I was looking at the schematic, and you have a dark green wire that feeds a bunch of things: sub amplifiers, antenna module, power antenna, and that comes from the Bose mini relay and powers up the radio as well. The idea was I'm going to look for this dark green wire, and I found it in the back of the radio, tested it with a test light, and that's pretty much the only time I'll tell you to use one of these things, just for simple checks. So I went behind the radio, found the dark green wire, stuck my probe on it, and sure enough, it lit up when I turned the key on, stayed lit up till I opened the door, and then it went away. So I just spliced into that power wire for the Tranzit Blu, and let me show you what it did. Okay, so I got it hooked up to Bluetooth. I'm just gonna keep on playing. So this is key on, playing. You're driving around, you wanna shut it off. And when I open the door, it goes out. So it's exactly what I wanted it to do, and all I had to do was tap in to the power wire to the head unit, and it fixed everything. So now it's perfect. The only time you get static is right at the very beginning, but it's only a second or less. It's really not too bad. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments section. And as always, thank you for watching.